Cavin Elizabeth here, wedding photographer and bridal boutique owner. And I know it's been a little while. I have had a couple of weeks break, but I am now back, and today's video is going to be all about wedding tablescapes. I'm going to be showing you guys a lot of different examples of reception tablescapes that you can do for your own wedding. So I'm going to be showing a lot of variety of tablescapes on round tables and long or rectangular tables, also known as like farm tables. So I'm also going to be showing a variety of more affordable tablescapes, as well as sort of a medium range of budget, and then a couple of ones that are a little bit more luxury. So any of these you could tailor to any budget. You could take a little bit more affordable and you could like sort of maximize it. You could take the more medium or the more luxury and you could thin them out and make them more affordable. So you can really tailor any of these to any budget. So I want to show a variety, and that's what I'm going to do. So let's just jump right in. This first example that I'm going to show you guys is a pretty affordable example. This couple had a lot of guests, so that means a lot of table to cover, and they simply just used a lot of greenery down the table, down the center of the table, and then they had a couple of lanterns spread throughout the tables. You can see that's what those tall guys are with candles in the middle. And then they had a number of little copper votive candles. So you can see at the beginning of the table that little copper like little vase type thing. That's a votive candle. So a tiny little candle goes in the bottom of that little cup. That is a votive candle. So that is pretty much all that they did for their tablescapes. Kept it pretty simple and pretty affordable. Now my next example is a little bit more lush and luxe, but you could still keep this pretty affordable. So what this couple chose to do is they kept this really clean with a beautiful silk chiffon runner that was in a really dusty rose blush color, and they just kept it down the middle of their long farm table. And then they actually put their beautiful jewel-toned emerald linens napkins underneath their chargers. The chargers are those dinner plates right there. And then they had gorgeous centerpieces on the tables, and then they had olive oil bottles also on the table, so a little farm to table touch there. And then they had a couple of beautiful candles down the table, so a little bit of a votive candle touch there. So that is what they did for this very kind of rustic organic wedding. And then the actual plates themselves were adorned with menus tied in another silk chiffon ribbon. So they used a couple of different colors to spice things up, so every place setting had a different color ribbon. Now this next example keeps things really affordable. You don't have any large centerpieces at all. They had a lot of different succulents in different terrariums, different little glass shapes, and then little candles in hurricanes. Hurricanes are those glass containers that you see. A lot of venues will not allow actual open flames. They will tell you that you have to have your candles in hurricanes, which are those glass containers again. So this couple chose to do little flowers in glass containers as well as those candles, and then they used a rose gold sequin linen for their tables for a nice textured touch, and then just napkins laid along the tables as well. So this was a very affordable tablescape. Now the next example is a really classic round table example, centerpiece right in the middle, and then a table number printed on just a piece of paper inside of a little plastic or acrylic case just to keep it from falling over, and then a couple of votive candles all around the centerpiece, and then the napkins tied in a little gold band, and there you have it. It's just a pretty simple classic example. Now my next example is very similar to the last one, except just a little neon tropical vibe, and then some candles that actually have an open flame, which I'm surprised the venue allowed, but here we are, they did it indoors at that. So just a fun little neon tropical explosion here. Very simple tablescape, nothing too fancy going on other than the fact that we've got a neon light. Alright, so here we've got another round table, bit of a large centerpiece. What kind of spices things up here, makes it a little different, is that we do have a colored napkin going on just to give the table a bit of contrast. So instead of going with the standard venue's white linen napkin, the couple did rent blue napkins from an external linen company just to give a little bit more color to this table, which I think is absolutely beautiful. So that is how you can elevate your wedding. It will cost a little bit more, but it is definitely going to spice things up. Now at this same wedding, the couple actually did have a separate head table, which was a long table, and what they chose to do was actually bring in those blue napkins yet again, and then down the table, instead of a centerpiece, they had a runner of green smilax. This is southern smilax, that's what that greenery is. And then they had a lot of different flowers in little bud vases. So that's what those flowers, those roses sticking up are in, and then a couple of candles along that runner. So that's what they did with their head table, just to make it a little bit different from their round tables. At this next wedding, I'm going to show you guys what the couple did to differentiate their guest tables from their head tables. So they did the same thing as the last wedding, where all of the guests were at round tables, and then the head table was a long farm table. So here you can see they did a very similar thing where they did not choose white napkins. They had a beautiful gray napkin to contrast against the white linen. Of course, they had these like very classic centerpiece in the middle with gold votive candles all around the centerpiece, gray linen napkins. And then if we switch over to their head table, which was a long table, they had those same gray linen napkins, and then they had a greenery runner on the front of the head table. That would be the front of the table that all of the guests would see, with some votive candles all around. So it's always nice to have some variety in what you're doing with your tables, just to spice things up a bit. Now moving on to the next wedding. This wedding actually had some high centerpieces, so it's kind of a different feel from the low centerpieces. With the high ones, you definitely got a different structure going on with your tables, and for this couple, they did have for their table numbers them written in calligraphy on glass. So definitely a unique style of table number, and then of course those classic votive candles down below on the table. And then for their chargers, they chose a very traditional clear beaded edge charger for their dinner plates, and then a soft pink napkin. For this next wedding, they had a variety of centerpiece types. They had high and low. Now, high centerpieces are usually going to cost more because they have to have flowers to cover the bottom side, because guests can see the bottom because they can look up at the centerpiece. So you have to have more flowers to cover almost like a 360 of the centerpiece, whereas low arrangements you don't have to cover that bottom. So they're definitely going to cost a bit more because you got to cover more sides with more flowers. So a great way to offset the cost of flowers is to have some high, some low. Also, some people just like the look of having some high and some low to add more dimension to the reception. So this couple had gold linens for their tables. They also had square chargers, and then they had a high centerpiece. And then if we switch over to their low centerpiece table, you can see a beautiful low arrangement here and those square chargers that I was talking about. So they had a nice mix of high and low. Now this next wedding had a really cool type of centerpiece that I had never seen before. It was actually built around this black hoop. So they had an asymmetrical arrangement here that was built on half of the hoop. So this is something that I wanted to include because I had never seen this done before. It was really unique. So just a really cool centerpiece idea. You could build something like this for your own weddings. You can have, I've seen this for like ceremony arches. You have a circular arch and then like flowers cover part of that circular arch. Maybe they cover the top half or the side or like the bottom half. But this has kind of taken that idea and then brought it to the centerpiece on the table. So just something really cool to get you guys inspired for something unique on your centerpiece. Now this next wedding is a very luxurious wedding, and what they have done is they have actually taken two kinds of ideas for their tables. For their round tables, they had a very, very tall centerpiece, and it's very almost like a little tree. It's really cool, really sweet. And then they have two types of chairs for that round table. They've got a really cool circular chair, and then they've got a really cool, almost like a heart-shaped chair for half their chairs. And then they have a long table that's got a mix of low centerpieces and then really tall candles. And then on this next photo here, you guys can see an up close of that long table. So lots and lots of candles and then low centerpieces mixed in here for a very luxurious upscale reception look. Now this next example is from an editorial I did, and this is a very lush tablescape mixed with lots of chinoiserie plates and then very luxurious centerpieces. So this table actually has multiple centerpieces, so if you wanted to make this look more affordable, you would have less centerpieces or smaller centerpieces. And then we've got colored glassware mixed with clear glassware, and then pink linens on the table, and then lots of taper candles here as well. So this is a very, very, very packed table for a lot of impact, lots of color, and so much beauty all in one table with very lush chairs. Now this next one I had to throw in because this is a holiday Christmas themed wedding. It is super cute. So this is a very Christmassy themed wedding that is not in your face Christmas. So you're not going to see a lot of red and green in here. You're not going to see Santa Claus in here, but you're going to see cute little holiday themes. So if I just move in closer here, you're going to see one of the table number features is actually a gingerbread house. How cute is that? And then on the tables themselves, there were little tiny miniature reindeer. So I wanted to share with you guys that if you're doing a holiday themed wedding, you can include a lot of holiday themes that aren't in your face, like super, super, super holiday screaming at you type things. You can include little tidbits of the holidays that absolutely convey the theme without it being over the top in your face. So rather than thinking elementary school themed holiday parties, think not adult themed, but think like a sophisticated, more adult natured themed ways of doing things that are a little bit more refined, that still convey that theme, but do it in a way that aren't over the top and too on the nose. Now the next tablescape that I wanted to show you guys is a really cool way to make it more organic. So this tablescape was inspired by honeybees, and so on the table itself there's some candles that have a honeycombed pattern ingrained in them, and then it's got different elements of the honeybees, but we also wanted to include a lot of organic fruits, and so we've just got a bowl of fruit on the table, and just so some beautiful touches like that and lots of earthy tones and textures. So this is something that you can also do, again, having a theme but having it not be too on the nose. So just always thinking of ways to include your theme in very subtle hints and have it be really woven throughout your wedding in ways that people will subtly pick up on. Now the next one is actually my own wedding, and it was a very fruity theme. So you'll see on here whole fruits and then cut fruits. And someone on Pinterest actually left a really rude comment on one of my wedding photos, and they were like, "This is the most stupid thing that I've ever seen. Who would put like cut fruit on a table? The bugs are going to be everywhere." And that person's an idiot, because you know what? It's Southern California. There were no bugs at my wedding. San Diego, the bugs are like non-existent. There were no bugs on my table. If I was in Alabama, I would not be having this wedding. But anyways, this was a beautiful wedding. It was my own wedding and I loved it. So having a fruity themed wedding was really cool, and we had taper candles in hurricanes. So again, that's what those glass covers around the candles were. And so this tablescape was really fun and festive and colorful and very fruity. So if you're wanting to do something really colorful and lively and fruity, then hopefully this will be really inspiring to you. And I wanted to include daffodils in my flowers because I had a lot of daffodils in my front yard when I was growing up. So you can see a little daffodils peeking out of the arrangements, and I wanted it to be just a color explosion, and so that's what we did. So this next wedding is going to be not so fruity, but more vegetable filled. So this was actually an event that I photographed for a bunch of wedding planners, and the florist who did this event actually went completely all out. She had a lot of these pulled from her garden, and she bought a lot of these pumpkins. And so if you're wanting to do something holiday themed and you want to go all out on like pumpkins and have this go for your tablescape, you can, and then you can reuse things like this. So you could do something like where your wedding favors are part of your place setting. So for example, on this place setting, we were all gifted by the venue a little bar of soap here, and some leaves were just tucked into the bar of soap, so you can incorporate your favors into the place setting. and that can give the look of a more lush place setting. And then the menus were tucked into the place setting as well. And so all these kinds of things you can use to really zhuzh up your place setting and make it look more full in your pictures and just have it be more of a presentation. So there's all these like amazing organic, lively vegetables and fruits in here that just really bring this table to life. So you don't always have to do flowers. You can bring in like organic produce and things like that to build your tablescape. And you could pick these things up at like a Costco or something. So you can make stuff like this look really, really full and luxury without it costing a whole lot of money. So there are absolutely ways to get a really luxe look on a more cost-effective budget. Now this next wedding that I wanted to show had a really cool vintage sports theme. So the couple had their centerpiece actually put into a trophy, which I thought was really cool. And then their table number was printed on a piece of wood. And then they had like a glove mitt on the tablescape too. And then they had a mix of blue glasses, and it was just a really cool wedding. So they had a really cool vintage theme. You can see a gramophone in the background. So I just thought that this one was a really cool way to show you guys how to mesh the bride and groom's interest in here. The groom really loves sports, the bride really loves vintage things, so they kind of meshed them together in this really cool way. So this next wedding I love to show because it's a really cool example of people who are having really small guest counts. So you can have a really small guest count and your budget might be small, but because you have a really small guest count, your budget can cover a lot of stuff. So this couple had about 20 guests, and so the budget did not have to be very big for it to be extremely impactful. So this couple had really cute bistro chairs, and then they had linens covering their table, and they had beautiful soft gray plates with soft gray napkins, and then a menu with a little sprig of rosemary wrapped in twine over the menu, and then gorgeous flowers with blue glassware and clear glassware. I just love this wedding because it was so tiny and intimate. And they had dark blue navy taper candles, and I just think that this is the sweetest little wedding. And again, the lower your guest count is, if you have the same budget but you just lowered your guest count, then your budget will have more of an impact for like the visual aesthetics of your wedding. So if you had a 50-person wedding versus a 100-person wedding, your budget will have much more of a visual impact for your flowers and your rentals if you have the smaller guest count. So you could take the same amount of money and apply it to 50 people versus 100 people. It's gonna look a whole lot bigger for 50 people than 100 people. So this next wedding, I'm going to show you guys their tablescapes for the round versus their head table, just like I've done with some other examples. So here is their round table. So you can see that they have beautiful round tables with these super cute, like almost like pink ombre arrangements, and they've got some taller candles in hurricanes, and then they're very clean table numbers in little wooden stands, and then they've got these golden rimmed chargers wrapped in a soft blush, kind of almost a mauve-y blush like linen here. Centerpiece is in a gold vase. And then if we move over to their head table, you've got them, instead of in a white linen, they're now in a blush linen. Same sort of charger and napkin going on for the place setting, and then same centerpiece type. We've just got a different linen on the table, and then very tall taper candles in hurricanes instead of the lower candles in hurricanes. So very similar look, but just a little bit more punch and more centerpieces. Now these last couple of images I want to show you guys was actually a centerpiece tablescape shoot that my friend Compass Floral and I did. She actually did the flowers for my own wedding, and then she retired right after she did my wedding. Very sad about it. She was very talented and she's such a great florist. So anyways, we did this tablescape shoot where we styled 3 different tablescapes for 3 different looks. This first one would be a single centerpiece tablescape. So we've got a single centerpiece in the middle, and then we've got it surrounded by these taper candles with open flames because there's no hurricane. hurricanes on them. Again, the hurricanes would be the glass containers that you would put over the taper candles if your venue does not allow an open flame. And then we just got some little flowers off to the side, and then some votive candles. That's what those little lower candles are in the little votives, so you can't actually see the candles, but they're in there. So that is what this example is here. And then the next example I have would be a very affordable option. So if you want to go with something like this, these are flowers in little bud vases. So bud vases can typically hold a flower or two, maybe 3, but usually 1 or 2 flowers in them, so they're just bud vases. So this is a tablescape with several bud vases with a little chiffon runner. That's what that little fabric is, a chiffon runner going through it. So this would be a very affordable tablescape option because there are not that many flowers on here. And the less bud vases with flowers you have, the cheaper this gets. So you could have just a couple on here with this little runner, or you could have as many as we do here. So the more you have, the more expensive it gets. The less you have, the less expensive it gets. And then we still have our taper candles on here. So this is a really cost-effective tablescape version here. And then the next tablescape and the last one of this video is going to be a double centerpiece tablescape option with a couple taper candles in little terracotta pots. So this is just a really floral heavy tablescape. This is going to be a little bit more costly than the last 2 options because you've got 2 centerpieces here, and then you've got just some little side pieces of little just miniature centerpiece babies on the side, but the main focal points are going to be these 2 centerpieces here. So this is great for long tables. I wouldn't recommend this for round tables. This wouldn't really work out so well. You could do the first example that I showed, the single centerpiece with taper candles. That could fit into a round table, but this one here, this is going to be suitable for long tables. So that is what this is. This is going to be the most expensive of the 3 that I've just shown. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. So I hope you guys enjoyed all of these tablescapes. They certainly showed a lot of different color palettes, a lot of different styles from many different venues of all of my weddings from the past couple of years. If you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like and comment down below. If you want to see any more examples of these kinds of video mashups where I show you lots of different inspiration from many of my weddings. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!